Welcome to the Futur3 Podcast. Boom, 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 boom. I'm Sean.
I'm Shaylin.
And I'm Cyan.
And we are the Futur3 Podcast.
Most people pick a lane and stay in it. Today's guest has spent a decade jumping between some of the biggest names in sports, media, and technology, and still made it all make sense. Today's guest started his career crunching data in healthcare marketing, pivoted into the NFL, moved through Yahoo, Fanatics, and the US Open, and is now doing sports strategy at Apple. Not an athlete, not a coach, just someone who figured out how to turn a passion into a career path. Please welcome to the Futur3 Podcast, Mr. Sid Parikh.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you for the warm welcome. Appreciate it. It's like a trip down memory lane. You guys running through my entire resume.
Yeah, I mean, you have a pretty extensive resume, but a lot of big names on that resume too, which we'll definitely get into soon.
Cool.
So-
Let's do it.
Yeah. So you describe yourself as someone who loves cultivating new experiences. So I have to ask, what is the most unexpected or kind of outrageous experience you've been on that's not related to work?
Not related to work.
Yeah.
Okay. I would say when I was in college, my sophomore year of undergrad at Rutgers, I was feeling quite stagnant. I felt like I wanted to do something a bit different. So my first semester, I was feeling very stuck and I wasn't growing and evolving the way I felt like I should. So I felt really stuck. I actually was taking Spanish at the time. Spanish was one of my minors, and my teacher reached out to me that one person dropped out of a study abroad opportunity to go to Spain. But normally you have to be 21 to apply. And I was a sophomore, so I was still 19, just turning 20 at that time. But I applied anyway. So I got accepted into the program and moved to Spain for 6 months when I was 20 years old. And it was absolutely life-changing because I grew up going to India a lot over the summers to hang out with my grandparents. That was my summer camp. But seeing Europe as just a 20-year-old and going out not knowing anybody in the entire country really, and just figuring things out by myself really gave me the itch to continue to evolve in terms of my personal growth.
That's awesome. I feel like that's great that you got that experience early to kind of spread your wings, because that probably helped you get ahead of your age group at the time, right? And when it came to kind of finding a job, because you already had the real life experience of living elsewhere on your own and kind of building your own portfolio in a way in a whole other country.
That's a great point. And when I think about a lot of these really grueling interviews, they want the interviewers are looking for somebody who has something to talk about. You can study forever and learn everything you want in a book, but a lot of times people want to know, am I going to enjoy working with this person? In that first impression, do you have something to talk about? And I feel like a lot of my interviews, while I was in college looking for my first job, out of college, were, I leaned on that experience a lot. I learned so much during that experience. So I had a really interesting base to talk about and talk, to answer their questions in a more cultured fashion.
Yeah. You worked at NFL, Apple, Yahoo, Fanatics, and US Open. Ranked the coolest to work at.
Ooh, okay. So I worked at the USTA as an internship in between my first and second year of business school. So I went to business school at UCLA. So I lived there. So USTA is the United States Tennis Association. It's the governing body of US tennis. And obviously their biggest tournament every year is the US Open. But throughout the summer, they have this thing called the US Open Series. So throughout all these cities around the US, like Cincinnati, Washington, DC, all these cities have their own smaller tournaments compared to the US Opens. It's like a US Open circuit, and it culminates in the US Open in Flushing, New York. So my job was to figure out the marketing and the media strategy, the business development, who are our corporate partners, how do we bring on different corporations to sponsor the U.S. Open, and what can we give them kind of in return in terms of like their brand, like strengthening their brand and aligning our U.S. Open and tennis brand with their brands. And then also after that summer internship at the USTA, I got the opportunity to be a manager at the U.S. Open. So that was like the coolest opportunity. It was like 2.5 weeks of being on the ground at the tennis tournament every day, managing sponsorship. So a lot of those like corporate partners. Have you guys been to the US Open before?
Yeah.
Yeah,
we
we
just
did.
went this year for the first time.
Okay. All right. So like you walked around the grounds, right? They have all those like booths
Yeah.
and all of them are like different partners. Like one of them is like Chase, for example, right? You go through this like experience of like putting your information in. It's fake information, but you put your information in into an ATM, so they get like your name, email address, phone number, so you're in their database. And then out of the ATM comes out like a prize. Like they have these kind of experiences all across the grounds, and our team's job was to help them make that come to life. And then on the ground itself, work with them to make sure everything is going smoothly. So I would say that was probably the coolest opportunity for sure.
Yeah, I mean, the US Open was such a cool experience for us too, because we've never been to a tennis match or a tournament ever. So, like, we got to walk around through the stadiums. It was really cool.
Yeah.
Do you guys play tennis?
No.
We did lessons
yeah.
for a while. He did like the middle school tennis team for a year and then just stopped playing.
Yeah, we just stopped.
Like we try to
That's that.
stay involved in tennis, but we don't really have time most of the time. So
No, that's totally fair. But I think just real quick about tennis, since I'm like very passionate about it. There's two things. One thing is, as a fan, there's no time limit on tennis. You know, like every other sport has like 48 minutes for basketball, 60 minutes for football, etc. So you kind of know when the game's going to end unless there's overtime. Tennis, you don't know, right? It could be a 3-set or 6-0, 6-0, 6-0, and it's an hour-long match, or it could be 5 sets in 5.5 hours. So that's like the really cool variability of tennis. And that's, I think, something that separates tennis from really every other sport. And then secondly, it's just a really good sport like for longevity.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah,
I'm
we
kind of
went.
curious about who your favorite tennis player to watch is, because mine is Francis Tiafoe. Like, I
Yeah,
love his playing style.
Uh-huh.
I like Shelton actually. Shelton's like I like his swag on the court. It's awesome.
Yeah, me too. I like
Interesting.
Shelton.
Yeah. And that's why, look, I don't know if you can see this, but like I have like a goat wall behind me.
Yeah.
Rafael Nadal right here is my guy. Federer right here is Chico's, my wife's favorite player. And we don't have Djokovic on here, but like I know he has the record. He's probably, I guess those three players are like probably the best of all time. Not probably, they are the best of all time. But yeah, my guy is Rafa, and I think his documentary just came out on Netflix.
So that.
Yeah, that's awesome. So now, Mr. Parikh, I want to kind of get into your high school days because I'm wondering what kind of student were you actually, and was there a part of you that kind of had an idea of where you'd end up professionally?
Ooh. It's funny that you asked that because like a lot of the people that your family knows, like when they first met me, which was like 20 years ago, they're like, "Oh, this guy's fun, whatever, he's goofy." But like academics didn't look like it was that top of mind for me from the outside. However, academics was like extremely high for me. Like I would say tied for number one with athletics. I would pull all-nighters all the time in high school. I was in all the AP classes. Uh, I I did well in school. Like I tried really hard. Academics was like extremely, extremely important. It was like you can't do anything unless you've got your academics locked down. Once you get your studies locked down, once you finish all the things you have to do, then you can do everything else. Because a lot of times at work, it's like who's going to work the hardest. It's not always like who's the smartest. And I think the way you guys have approached sports also is like, okay, a lot of times some people are more talented, but hard work beats talent. And like if you can combine the two, you're going to be a star. So that ethos is something that I think is extremely important to have for any young adult.
Yeah, and for soccer especially, or for every sport, when you're moving from high school to college and college to pro, it's like such a big leap, and talent will get you there, but hard work will take you to the next level, right?
100%. That's exactly right. Like talent will get you in the door more often than not, but hard work is where the person that you're talking to or person that's like in the decision maker role is going to be able to weed out who's actually serious about this opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so I want to talk about this real quick because I know you studied finance, Spanish, and economics at Rutgers, which honestly is not a pretty obvious combination of things to study in college. So in high school, do you think there was like a class or a teacher or a moment that kind of pointed you towards going that way when you got to college?
Actually, yeah. Um, okay, so two things. So my economics teacher, my junior year of high school, he was a really cool guy. His name is Mr. Zawicki. He got me interested in like understanding like the economics of like how things work. And I think that class, more than just guiding me to like pick economics as, one of my areas of study in college, I think it's helped out on like a personal finance level and just understanding kind of how the world works. Like, for example, like, the velocity of money. Like if I spend $100 here, that person takes $100 and spends it there. That person, like the more that same $100 is spent around, the better the economy performs, right? And then Spanish, I had a really cool Spanish teacher in high school. She was my Spanish teacher for like 2 or 3 years. She was from Colombia, Miss Milano. She was she had a past as I forgot what the group was called, but she was like part of the army in Colombia that was like part of the resistance against a lot of like the drug cartels and things like that. And so she had a really cool history, and it kind of opened my eyes. Again, like this kind of goes back to what I was talking about before, is like getting new experiences by like putting like understanding others' experiences and like really opening my eyes to like what's out there, in the world. And then on top of that, she was a really strict teacher. And so, yeah, that's why I kind of added that as one of my areas of study in college.
Do
Yeah,
you
and
think
I feel like strict teachers help you the most because they're the ones that are most dedicated to teach you to help you move forward in life.
Yeah, no, that's 100% right.
So you also interned at Tia Craft in finance, which is very, very far from the NFL and Apple. What was that experience like?
I think this goes back to my parents kind of allowing me to try different things. So I was majoring in finance. I was, you know, pretty good at it, I guess. Like in terms of like book learning, like taking tests and things like that. I was good at that. And I wanted to see if like I actually enjoyed the execution of it in like an actual big company like TIA Craft. They're a huge company. They manage just the background on it, they manage like the pensions, I believe, of like all like the teachers and educators in the country. So they like manage a lot of money. And I didn't love it. It was a lot of like living within Microsoft Excel and like pulling like numbers from one tab to the other, like and just like submitting it. There was no like it was a lot of it's called back office work where you're just like working with the numbers and like submitting sheets and stuff. And I didn't feel like I was doing anything that I could see. Like I was doing crunching all these numbers and stuff, but like the end result of it was like out of my hands. Okay, I finished this task. Okay, where's the next one? Let me finish this. I'm just kind of sending it somewhere into the ether. I wanted to do something where I could actually see my work, and so like that was very attractive to me coming out of college.
Yeah, and that all kind of relates to what you said at the start with like how finding your career is kind of like trial and error for every single thing you do. Right?
100%. And I think there are people out there that know what their passions are like very early in life. Like some people like know they want to be a doctor at like age 10. Some people are like completely gifted, as a teenager at soccer or, whatever it is. But most people I think are doing trial and error. I think no matter what age you are, everyone's just trying to figure it out. And then a lot of times, a lot of these stories, I bet a lot of the people that you've talked to are kind of like, oh, it kind of just happened. But like you're subconsciously like working your way towards it in all these different steps. And at some point, something kind of clicks and you're like, wait, I really like this. Let me keep going down this path. And that passion can change.
Exactly. Like everything's kind of connected in its own way. Whether like you just have to kind of think about it a little bit because learning Spanish for you kind of related to your love for travel. And I'm sure it kind of helped you a little bit in your job with talking to all these international companies and all that stuff. So it kind of all relates in a way, either directly or indirectly.
That's exactly right. Even you brought up the NFL. My like background of like studying in Spain and studying Spanish in college and high school and so on helped me a lot in working with the international team at the NFL. When I got to the NFL, my job was completely like digital media strategy and like marketing. So if the Bengals come like have something going on, like they want to run a social media campaign, like we from the NFL side have like the best practices across all 32 teams, across what the league is doing, across what the rest of the industry is doing. We're going to apply that to what the Cincinnati Bengals want to do for a certain campaign, right? So like that's our job. But as I started to work through it and like getting closer to the clubs themselves, I started to realize that a lot of what these teams and what the league wanted to do was expand their international footprint. And I was like, okay, wait, I love this. Like I'm obsessed with traveling, sure, but I also like studied and have this background of like culture and like what works in different cultures and like how we can present ourselves as the NFL as a brand, the shield in different places. Like if like the NFL strategy for representing their brand in Brazil and Australia and Germany and I think France, Mexico, they're all different from each other. England, like they're all different, right? They all have to like hit on different pieces of that country's culture. So like one of the NFL's first few international series games was in Mexico City. So like England, of course, like London was I think first, but
Yeah.
Mexico City was like huge. Mexico City was probably the second place that the NFL played. Mexico City's field at Estadio Azteca got completely demolished by a soccer game like the week prior. So they moved it back to LA. So NFL kind of owed them one, right? So for the 2019 season, we wanted to really blow it out. We did like a huge event in Mexico City. We had like a big activation in the middle of the plaza. Like we did a huge like social content series, and I got to work with the Chargers and the Chiefs on their strategies to like make themselves like known to the Mexican fans. And like if you go to Mexico today, a lot of the fans are Chiefs fans because Patrick Mahomes played there. The Chiefs did a really good job of like endearing themselves to the public. Chargers did a great job as well. They had like a lot of their Spanish speaking players do content series in Mexico. So yeah, I think that whole background kind of led me to that point with the NFL.
Yeah. And going to the NFL schedules, I have to ask this because for me, my favorite NFL schedule release video was the Buffalo Bills. And I know I'm an Eagles fan, but the Buffalo Bills did one last year with like uh Josh Allen was like, let's use AI for our video. And then
Oh,
they
yeah.
used Allen Iverson, which was really creative. So what's your favorite video so far?
I mean, the most recent one that stuck out to me was I don't know which team did this. I want to say it was the Chargers, but I'm not sure exactly. But obviously, you know about the Mike Vrabel, Dan Orsini storyline, and I know there was at least one team, I forgot which one, that kind of pointed at it and poked at it in their video, and I thought that was very risky, but in social media, the goal is to go viral, right? The goal is to get people to watch it, to engage with it, to like it, to comment on it. And that's how the ball gets rolling. And so like being risky in like a playful manner was the chord that we wanted to strike when we would like kind of share our best practices on social media.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I know the NFL is rapidly growing, but now recently I've also seen that Apple Sports is growing just as quickly now. It's insane. They're everywhere, especially now with, as we were just discussing, Formula One. Now that's on Apple TV only. So, I mean, the sports world of Apple is really, really moving quickly.
Yeah. And what is it like working in a company like Apple?
So, okay. So Apple obviously is like a tech titan. It's it's obviously a household name. We're probably all using Max right now.
Yeah.
So it's steeped in history, I would say. And it's very methodical. So, okay, if you compare it just from a sports lens, if you compare it to Google or Netflix or Amazon, you'll see that those three companies that I just mentioned, they've spent an exorbitant amount of money to get the content that they have on their platform. So Google has NFL Sunday Ticket, Amazon Prime has the NBA, and a few others. Netflix has a ton of like original sports content, and they're getting into live streaming content. I think they had WWE recently. So yeah, exactly. So like all of these companies are getting into the sports space. And the reason they're getting into the sports space is that it's the last frontier of live entertainment that you can have on a screen. Everything else you can watch after the fact, but sports you can't because the result will happen. You're going to miss something live in the moment, right? And so you need to watch sports live. And because you're watching it live, that means you're watching the ads live, right? So that's why sports is so valuable.
Yeah. So is that kind of what sports strategy is? Just kind of combining all those different departments to kind of connect as one in the Apple Sports?
Yes. So a strategist's general job, just like in a fully general sense, is to be like the spoke of the wheel. Like your job is to connect all these different teams and make sure that everybody has the same information and is speaking the same language.
Yeah, and it's crazy because I I saw an ad one day for Apple Sports on my Instagram feed, and then I was like, "Why not? Just try this out." So I used to use ESPN like 2 months ago, and I started using Apple Sports, and I feel like it's so much like way more organized. So it's great.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I work on that one a lot.
Yeah. So, I mean, from what I'm understanding, you're kind of describing your career as blending your interest and also creating an impact. So, if the version of you from your first day at Rutgers could see where you ended up today, what would he say?
Dap me up. You dap me up. I mean, look, man, like getting to this point was incredibly difficult. And like I said before, this isn't the end goal. I'm always going to try to build more and more and more and get, just continue to um, do better and improve and learn. That's really what it's all about for me. Just like continue to learn and like get better at what I'm doing. It's all about like being the best that I can. But getting to this point is was like a crazy roller coaster. Like if you guys have seen my LinkedIn or resume or whatever, like since graduating from college, I've had from business school, I've had 4 different jobs, and like it's really interesting how macroeconomic conditions can affect your career path.
You've been through TIAA CREF intern. You've done data analysis, lead analysis, been a Flyers consultant. You've worked for the US Open, NFL media strategy, Yahoo Daily Fantasy and Sportsbook, Fanatics commercial strategy, and now sports strategy at Apple. From all those, what would you say your definition of success is, and how has it changed from your high school days to today?
Okay, that's a great question. So I think success is really like the impact you have on like the people around you. A lot of like work in like real life, quote unquote, is transient. Like the projects that you work on will complete at some point and you'll work on something else. Or the people you work with at some point may leave and you may work with other people. I've been very, very fortunate to work with some amazing, amazing people who've taught me, so much. Like my manager at the NFL, his name was Keith. I had dinner with him a month ago in LA, and like he came to my wedding. Like I I am like a huge believer in like relationships and making sure you're just a good dude or a good person to the people around you, and good will come back to you. Like not just in your career, but also in life. Like I actually believe that, and it's also about paying it forward. Like the people who've helped me get to the point where I'm at today, like they didn't have to help me, right? But they did, and like it showed me that like being a good person always pays dividends. And then just working in a space, like you're going to deal with a lot of issues with people, and like sometimes you're dealing with politics within the workplace. There's a lot you have to deal with as like an employee of a certain company. And when things get tough or when stuff hits the fan, a lot of what you lean on is your relationships and the people that can vouch for you. So, being a good person isn't like a means to an end. It's just, by being a good person and having people like, see that in you and make sure they know that you've got their back whenever they need it, they'll have yours. I think that is probably the biggest lesson and biggest like takeaway that I've taken to my core from like all these years of like working as like a quote unquote professional. It's about the people.
All right. So it's been a great conversation with you. We've had a great time, but I think it's now time that we turn the tables. Mr. Parikh, do you have any questions for us?
You can call me Sid, by the way. I'm not that old, I think. Okay, any questions for you? Like, how many guests have you guys had on this podcast?
Oh God,
19 or
so many.
20, something like that.
Yeah, we're getting near close to
30.
Yeah, we're getting
25-ish.
close to 30
20.
probably.
Yeah.
Okay, like have any career paths that your guests have, spoken about, like kind of stood out to you so far?
I mean, yeah, there's definitely careers that have stuck out to me. We're all very passionate about sports, as I'm sure you know. So sports is obviously something that we all want to go into, but recently I've kind of been like looking more at the entrepreneurial side of things. Like I kind of want to be the one to be able to solve an issue and kind of create a business out of it. That's kind of something that I really take pride in, just finding issues and being able to solve it.
Yeah, and it's kind of crazy for Shaylin, especially because we started our podcast with one of our guests being in the law, and he was really interested in that. And then we kept going, and now he's interested in the entrepreneurial world.
Yeah.
So it shows how much this podcast can change the way you think, like between these different career paths from listening to different people's stories.
Yeah, and for me, I would say like we had a guest that was the senior producer at NFL Films, and I feel like that really caught my attention because it's in the sports field, but he also gets like really close to like the players' families and sees what their everyday life is. So that's really what interests me a lot.
Yeah, and I like the one that we did with the head of social media for the Houston Rockets, because that was really interesting to see how this social media world works, especially in sports.
100%. Like, are you guys interested in like creating content? And like, I know obviously this podcast is content, but that you were mentioning, you guys interviewed a senior producer at the NFL. Like, is that something you want to go, like a path you want to go down maybe in the future, like capturing content?
I mean, it's definitely something I'm interested in, but I don't know if I don't know if I'm interested in like content. Like, I don't know if I'm interested in like the filming aspect of it, but I'd like explore more in that field to see if I'm like actually interested in it, but I don't know yet. All right. So you guys can find us on Instagram, Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, LinkedIn, Facebook, everywhere, Threads, TikTok, every single social media platform. We're there. We are the Future 3 Podcast, and we out. Peace.
Peace.